Hello friends, this is Wendy with Love and Stampin'. I am so excited that you're here with me today. We're going to be making a Funfold card. The card pieces you're going to need is a card base cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, a layer for that base at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, a piece of pattern paper cut at 5 1/4 by 5 3/4, an inside piece for the fold cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and some layering stamp pieces, and I'll get into those layers as we put them down. So I have a free project sheet for you over on my blog, so you don't have to worry about writing any of these measurements down. I will provide those for you over on my blog. So please, please, please don't worry about writing these down. Hi friends, I'm interrupting this video to give you a quick ad for my Mega Funfold class. My Mega Funfold class is coming up very soon, and it's going to be amazing. I know so many people have already signed up. They're super looking forward to it. If you're a Creative Vault member, you get this class as part of your membership. It's $14.95 a month to be a Creative Vault member, and you are going to love all the stuff we have in our membership site. It's not just this class. There's tons of stuff in there. So you'll love that option. But if you're not a subscription person and you don't care for signing up for subscriptions, we get it. So you can just purchase this class totally separate. The cost for this class is $45, and it includes tons of videos and ideas on all kinds of fun folds, not to mention some really cool resources in order to build a library for all your future Funfold activities. If you love Funfolds like I do, this class is the first in many I plan to do this year to teach you every Funfold, give you lots of ideas, and give you a resource library, most importantly, that you can always go back to, kind of like a cookbook. So please don't hesitate to sign up today. It's $45 to sign up and just get the class by itself. But if you want to purchase a Vault membership, you can do that for $14.95, and then you are a member of the Creative Vault. We also give away prizes there and do all kinds of fun things. So the choice is yours on how you would like to purchase it. By the way, it doesn't matter where you live. That's the best part of these classes. If you aren't in the United States, no big deal. You can purchase it anywhere. We do only have measurements in imperial. So there are no metric measurements for these Funfolds, but they're very easily converted. So I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching my little ad, and I hope you pick up the Mega Funfold class. So now you're going to score one of your pieces of cardstock that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 at 2 3/4 inch on the 5 1/2 inch side. I quickly realized that I didn't have this piece cut and prepared, so I had to do that really quick. And then we are going to score it, and it'll be ready for the rest of the Funfold. So here we're going to line it up at the 2 3/4 inch mark, and then we are going to score and fold. I hoped you enjoyed my little ad break there. I found this is a fun way to let you know about what's going on with my classes and events. All right, we're scoring this piece at 3 3/4 inch on the 5 3/4 inch side. So on the longer landscape side, we're going to score at 3 3/4 inch, or you could say score at 2 inches, either one. And now we're going to assemble this card. So to start out, we are going to assemble the 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 basic white thick panel to the 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 inch basic gray panel. The cardstocks I'm using today are from Stampin' Up. The stamp set that I'm going to use for this particular card is from Trinity Stamps. My husband is a huge pizza lover, so I thought this was the perfect card to make for him for probably just a just because card. We aren't much on Valentine's Day in our house, so it'll just be something I pop in his truck or his car or his lunchbox just to remind him how much I love him. And here we're going to use my bone folder to burnish the edge of this pattern paper, and then we're going to glue this piece down to our card base. Now, I'm going to show you several of these Funfolds. I have 4 different ones to show you today. All of them, well, two of them are in the same orientation, but the other two are in different orientations so that you can see how versatile this Funfold is. This Funfold literally can be used so many different ways, and I only scratched the surface. I've got 4 different cards to show you, and you're going to see how fun it is, how fun the Funfold is. So here I'm gluing it down with the flap facing up. So that is kind of an important piece because that's one of the orientations you can do with this. And then this little note card piece is going to get glued kind of in the center of this layer that we just did, with one flap under and one flap over the bottom flap of the pattern paper. So I'm going to add glue to the back of here using my precision glue press, which, by the way, these are back in stock. They've been out of stock numerous times because they are extremely popular. So if you do want a precision glue press, I have linked to it below this video to make it easy for you to grab one, since they are back in stock right now. And you can grab one there. I'm going to glue this down, lift up that piece, tuck in my pattern piece, and here we basically have the finished Funfold. Now it's just about decorating. So for the other cards I'm showing you today, we're not really going to go into the decorating of them all, but I wanted to show you at least one decorated. Your inside piece here is cut at 2.5 by 4 inches, and I'm not doing any stamping on this, so I'm comfortable with just going ahead and gluing this on the inside. This would be the area where you would write your message or your note to your recipient. And if you wanted to do stamping there, I would recommend doing your stamping first and then gluing it down. For the layers on the front of this card, you will need a piece of 2 5/8 by 4 1/8 basic white, which I'm going to layer on first, followed by a 2.5 by 4 inch piece of real red cardstock. And then my final piece is 2 3/4 by 3 7/8. So we're going to layer all 3 of those pieces down on top of this card front so that we can decorate and get this going. Actually, before I put down that 2 3/4 by 3 7/8 piece of white, I'm going to stamp on it. Now, I left this whole situation in the video instead of editing it out because I wanted you to see that everybody makes mistakes and then how I fix the mistake. So here I'm going to glue down. I'm a little distracted because I was having some phone calls with my daughter and I see that I forgot to cut those little bits and pieces and parts out of the video. Anyway, I'm gluing this piece down and then I'm going to glue down the real red cardstock, and then we're going to stamp that final piece of basic white, and then we will end up gluing that piece down but covering it up. And you'll see that, like I said, as we go through the video. Okay, so now we're going to stamp our sentiment in basic gray ink from Stampin' Up. I'm inking up the sentiment and I'm just going to stamp it down using my mini MISTI. And the one thing, of course, that I absolutely love about this is that I can stamp multiple times perfectly in the same spot to get that really beautiful impression for my sentiments. One of the tips I would love to share with you for your MISTI stamping is it's really not necessary when you're doing a sentiment to push super hard. It's actually better to ink up, I have found, it's better to ink up your sentiment more than one time and stamp it delicately than to push really hard, especially with photopolymer stamps. What I have found with photopolymer stamps is when you push really hard, you end up actually kind of distorting the sentiment image. So I always just recommend that you stamp it lightly, and if you didn't get everywhere, ink it up again, stamp it again, rather than doing the CPR method and pushing really, really hard to get your sentiment. Because there's nothing worse than, like, in this case, I'm stamping on a piece of cardstock and adding it to my card. But sometimes you have a finished card front and you're stamping on that and you destroy the whole thing by messing up the sentiment. That is the worst. So take it for what it's worth, but that is what I have found to be the most effective when I'm stamping sentiments. Okay, so here I couldn't really decide exactly what I was going to do with my little pizza heart. I didn't know if I wanted one or two, so I'm kind of just like making the decision which way I want it to go. And I did end up deciding to stamp two hearts on here. However, I only ended up using one of them. So once I got my heart all stamped and ready to go, then I grabbed my Copic markers and we are going to color this little pizza just like a piece of pizza or a full pizza, I guess. I've never personally seen a heart pizza, but I think it's really cute. Okay, for my red sauce, that is just going to be like this little teeny tiny area here, I ended up using R59 and R29. So it's just a little bit darker in some areas, a little bit lighter in some areas, and then I went over it and blended it out. I didn't want to use my lightest red. Usually I use R59, R29, R35, and R32 for my red combination. But truthfully, I felt like it was just going to be way too like pinky red. So I went with just R59 and R29. For my pepperonis, I knew I wanted a more orange red. So I used R08 and R05 for those. And then for my cheese on my pizza, I used YR23, Y17, and Y19. I actually ended up coloring in with Y17 first, and I didn't feel like it was a good enough blend. So then I went in with the Y19 to try to blend in between the YR23 and the Y17. I'm not totally happy with my coloring of the cheese part of the pizza. I don't know. The blend didn't come through exactly as I wished. But that's okay. I mean, it's a little piece of pizza and nobody's going to care. And my husband's going to be the only one to get this card. So, there's that. So then I used a YR24 and it just was not brown enough for my crust. So I glazed right over the top of it with an E something. And I don't remember what it is. Sorry about that. So these stamps, you can purchase dies to go with these stamps. So I went ahead and purchased the dies because I thought they were really cute. And I'm going to die cut out this little pizza. And I used my new Anna Griffin Impress machine. And I have to tell you, I am absolutely in love with this machine. So eventually I will do a full review on it, but I want to use it long enough to really feel confident about everything I'm sharing with you. Okay, so here we run into our problem. As you can see, you can also see the frustration in my hand. So as you can see here, in order for this to go on the card, it would be hanging off the edge, which means it wouldn't fit in a regular A2 size envelope. And that would annoy me. So I'm like, okay, what could I do? What could I do here without doing this card all over again? Because that's not an option. So I just make it so that the heart will be at the edge and not go off of the edge. And I grab out the sentiment die cut. Luckily, this sentiment is a sentiment that can be die cut. And I lay the die cut right over the top to try to get a visual idea of how much of that heart it would cover up. I didn't want to cover the whole heart, and I also didn't want it to look weird. So I went ahead and decided, okay, I think this will work if I die cut the sentiment and then scoot it over a little bit. And you know what? It worked great. So don't give up when you are in the middle of making a card and maybe something doesn't come together like you expected it to. Don't give up. Just keep going, because more than likely you're going to be able to pull it off and come up with a solution. At the very worst case scenario, the other option would have been for me to cut a second piece of that 2 3/4 by 3 7/8 inch basic white thick cardstock and put it right over the top of the one with the sentiment and start from scratch. So that would have always been an option as well. I just ended up not having to do that because I had this cool die cut for the sentiment. So here I am stamping the sentiment again, and now I'm going to die cut it, and that will leave me with more options on how I put this card together. Now, for those of you who are new around here, I want to say welcome. If you don't know me, and because I've had a lot of subscribers recently, new subscribers, so we just want to welcome you. Thank you for being here. I had a video go what I'm considering viral for me. Wouldn't be considered a viral video, but for a card maker and for somebody who doesn't get humongous views on her videos, it was definitely a pretty significant jump in my views. And so we've had a lot of new people subscribe and join my channel. So welcome to our little stamping community here on the YouTubes. And we hope you stick around with us. We hope you subscribe and like the videos and hang out. I do free project sheets on a lot of my videos when I do a Funfold. I offer classes and stuff like that, as you saw in my ad. And I have been stamping for over 10 years. So I hope that you find this channel informative, fun, useful. We also do another thing around here called Storytime. Now, if you're new, this may not be your favorite thing if you don't like chitter chatter, but for my friends that have been here for a long time, this is something we do on a regular basis where I share little stories or snippets about my life and things that are going on in my life. And we just have a community and they share back in the comments below and it's fantastic. So we are going to have a little story time today because we haven't had one of those in a while. And I thought I would just share about my recent success with making sourdough bread. So making bread is one of my 2024 goals. I made a goal in 2024. Real quick, back to the card. So you could see here, if I line this up right over the top of the sentiment, it kind of covers up too much of the heart. But if I bump it over a little bit, you still can't see the sentiment underneath, and it covers less of the heart pizza. So everybody wins. Am I right? Okay, so sourdough. I started a starter on December 28th, and I have kept it alive up until now at the time I'm recording this video, which is January 24th. And 2 days ago, I started the process of making my very first sourdough loaf. Like authentic, real sourdough starter loaf. No yeast, just flour, salt, water, basically. And I gotta tell you, it is the best bread I've ever made in my life. I was so proud, prouder than any one person should ever be about making a loaf of bread. I have boasted about it, screamed about it from the rooftops. I am thrilled with my success. I can't claim all the success for myself though, because I have a friend by the name of Lindsay, which that's a whole story in itself. So we'll get into that. But here's my other card. Let's jump to this. So this is a card I actually received for a swap, and it's what inspired these cards. So there's that one, which is really cute, but I do love my pizza one, I have to say. And then we're going to use this bundle to make another card going in a different orientation using all the exact same measurements. So this is Hooray for Surprises bundle from Stampin' Up! And I've already pre-cut everything, started the layering process, and then we're just going to decorate this card so that we can have a little bit more time for story time. So my friend Lindsay, who I reconnected with on Instagram that I went to elementary school with, isn't that cool? She is like a sourdough queen. So she helped me with little questions here and there that I had. But between the channel Farmhouse on Boone, it's a YouTube channel, and my friend Lindsay and my cookbook, I managed to make a sourdough starter, keep it alive. I have now successfully made tons and tons of sourdough bagels. I had made some sourdough baguettes. They all required yeast though, and we're just using sourdough discard because my sourdough wasn't really strong enough yet my starter, I should say, to make a bread loaf. But friends, I can say now that I have successfully made a sourdough loaf, 1, and 2 sourdough bagels with no yeast, just using my starter. So there are many health benefits, by the way, to sourdough bread. And if you have a gluten intolerance, not an allergy, if you have celiac disease, you cannot eat sourdough. You can't even, some people can't even be around flour in an area. But if you just have an intolerance to gluten, sourdough might be your only hope, and not the sourdough bread you go buy at the grocery store that comes pre-sliced. That is not real sourdough. I mean, bulk fermented, long fermented, real sourdough, because the gluten is broken down in the process. So it might be worth trying, I'm just saying. Now, are these processes lengthy? Yes. Are they hard? No. They're just time consuming, and it is definitely a new skill that you have to learn. I'm happy to provide any information about any of the resources that I used if you are super interested in starting a sourdough yourself. But a lot of people also get sourdough starter from a friend or a loved one. And there are sourdough starters that are 60 years old or 100 years old. It's crazy, that have been passed down through generations. So you can get your hands on stuff like that online. But I just wanted to start my own, and I wanted to see how long I could keep my own sourdough starter alive. So here, I'm just gluing this on. I used Berry Burst. I used Glorious Gingham Designer Series paper on this card. By the way, all of the products I've used today are linked over on my blog. So there is a link in the description below this video for my Mega Funfold class, and there's also a link in the description below this video for my blog. You can go to either one, get information about my Mega Funfold, or you can go to my blog. You can get the free project sheet there, and there'll also be information there about my Mega Funfold class. So yeah, that's my story time today. I made sourdough bread, guys. I'm super proud, and I'm going to definitely be making more. And here is the fourth card I made. I have a full video tutorial on that fourth card, but that is going to be released at a later time to my Creative Vault members only. And I absolutely love how all four of these cards turned out. I think they're all super cute. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and taking your time to be with me. I hope you have an amazing day. Bye-bye.